Hi, thanks for tuning in today. Today we're going to talk about a casting technique called the roll cast. Now the roll cast is very important to have this skill set in your tool belt because in situations like this, where you have trees and things behind you, you cannot perform a traditional fly cast and get your fly out there because you'll end up hanging the fly up in the trees. So it's very important to understand how to perform a roll cast, and we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals behind a roll cast. So the first thing you want to consider is where your rod position is. So you want to have your hand and your rod right about at shoulder height and no further back. You want to have your wrist tilted to where the rod position is about at 1 o'clock. What you're trying to do is create this D loop you see behind me with my floating line, because that's what's going to help load the rod to shoot the line out. Now your anchor line is the line that's in the water. So there's floating line in the water that helps anchor this cast. Now the motion you want to have is you bring your casting arm out and then snap your wrist forward at the end. Many people trying to do the roll cast will go right to this motion, and that motion just doesn't create enough load on the rod, and you're really just trying to muscle the line out because the rod's not working for you. You want to be able to perform this roll cast to where the rod is doing a lot of the work. So let me demonstrate. So I have the rod right at shoulder length. It's about at 1 o'clock. I've created a pretty good D loop, and now I'm going to push forward and snap my wrist forward to get this line to go out nice and smooth. All right, so let's demonstrate. Okay, so I'm at shoulder, I've created a nice D loop, and now I'm going to perform the roll cast. And that line shot out nice and evenly, about 25 feet. So let me show you again. So you have your rod at your shoulder, you've created a D loop. The bigger the D loop you can create, the better. Sometimes the trees behind you will prevent you from doing that, but the bigger D loop you can build behind your rod loads the rod up just that much more. All right, so let me demonstrate. Do it again. So the fly presented itself nicely in a nice, about a 25, 30 foot cast. So the other things you want to consider when doing a roll cast is you can't deviate very much from the angle that your anchor line's out. So right now, my fly line is straight out in front of me. If I wanted to roll cast hard to my left, that's very difficult to do because you lose some of that line speed generation, and just trying to put too big of an angle on a roll cast just makes it tough to do. The next thing you want to consider is you never want to cross the anchor line. So if my anchor line is to my right, I don't want to ever try to perform a roll cast to the right because it's just going to tangle up the line. Like that. You can see the fly grabbed onto the line. It just turns into a big mess. So whenever you're roll casting, you always have to go to the left of the fly line, the anchor line, if you're right-handed, or to the right of the fly line if you're casting left-handed. You cannot cross over that anchor line that's in the water. So I'll demonstrate again. So rod is right at about shoulder length. I've created a nice D loop in the line. I'm going to push the rod out and then snap my wrist forward. Just like that. And that is how you perform a roll cast.